What is up, guys? It's your boy, Boo Cactus Gotcha, and today, with the launch of the spooktacular Halloween event Festival of the Lost 2023 within Destiny 2, something very interesting actually happened, and that is Bungie seems to have accidentally revealed a bunch of exotic armor that's going to be buffed in an upcoming season, and they revealed this in-game. That's right, you can actually just scroll over these armor pieces in the actual game and they just have their descriptions updated to the new effects and buffs they're going to have in the future. And importantly, it's only the descriptions that seem to have been changed. The actual function of the exotics remains identical. So let's get things started here with the extremely popular exotics that really made people notice this was happening, the Stompy's exotic legs for the Hunter. So the intrinsic armor perk is hydraulic boosters, and it says increases sprint speed and slide distance, and improves high jump, strafe jump, and triple jump. That's all pretty standard, but then it says take less damage from combatants while airborne. Now that did not exist previously, and that is a big deal, like being able to take less damage. If that damage reduction is anything substantial, that could really matter in a PvE environment, because combatants is the word Bungie uses for PvE enemies. So again, this is huge. But you may be thinking, well, maybe we just didn't notice it. Maybe we have a collective Destiny 2 Mandela effect situation going on. But you can actually see these changes within the database. If we look at light.gg and we go to the Stompies, and then specifically we go to the actual perk hydraulic boosters for the Stompies, as you can see, you have a version history here, and it was modified on the 16th, the day before this new update went live for the Festival of the Lost. And if we click that modified change, as you can see right here, we have the old text crossed out and the new text, the combatant damage resistance, in green. So very clearly, this was a recent change. In case you're wondering, here's what it looks like on an exotic that was not affected by this. If we go to the armamentarium for the Titan, we can see its intrinsic perk. We look it up and you can see in the version history it wasn't modified since 2021, so absolutely nothing happened with most of the exotics in game, but again, some are getting this change. But continuing with the Hunter, the next exotic we have is the Mechaneer's tricksleeves. If we look in the database, you can see a big new chunk of text was added. So in-game, here's what spring-loaded mounting says now. Increases sidearm airborne effectiveness, ready speed, and reload speed. While you're critically wounded, swapping to a sidearm reloads it and increases its damage. While this effect is active, sidearm final blows reload the weapon and extend the effect's duration. That sounds pretty darn insane. Hey, Devil's Ruin, anyone? Yeah, that was already a bit of a menace, and that's going to be even more of a menace going forward. Next up, but also for the Hunter, we have the Shards of Galanor. So the new Sharp Edges says throwing knife final blows decrease the cooldown of your super, which is the new part, and then hits and final blows with Blade Barrage will return super energy after the super ends. So a way to get, half your super back, and then also with the throwing knives, you're going to be getting your super even more often. That's pretty interesting. Now, moving on from there, lastly for the Hunter, we do actually have the Celestial Nighthawk. And for this one, I for sure thought I was going crazy, like they already did this, but you can see the change right here in the database. They added the beginning part of the description, which is now for Hawkeye Hack. Precision final blows reduce the cooldown of your super, and then modifies Golden Gun to fire a single high damage shot. Targets eliminated by the shot give you super energy and explode. So that second part there, I do remember being added on at a certain point. So now if you use your Celestial Nighthawk and kill a mini boss, you're going to get some super back. But now that first part, that's kind of crazy because it's just precision final blows. So that would indicate that, hey, you get a precision kill with your weapons, with your hand cannon, sniper, whatever, you're getting big chunks of extra super energy. It's basically potentially like adding Thresh, or maybe even it's more powerful to all of your weapons when you're using the Celestial Nighthawk. So now you can really be using that powerful Nighthawk shot a lot more often. The problem with the Nighthawk has always been you're waiting until the final boss to use it. But now potentially you could just be absolutely gunning it off like all the way throughout the Strike or Grandmaster or whatever, and still getting it back in time for that final boss as well. So that could be really good. But moving on from there, for the Titan, we have the Synthoceps. And importantly, this seems to be a nerf. So you can see here with the Biotic Enhancements perk, if I read it, when you're surrounded, gain increased melee and super damage, as well as improved weapon handling and reload speed. Yeah, remember it would also increase your melee lunge range? Well, that appears to be what they're going to take out for the nerf. Now, this definitely seems to be targeted at its PvP usage, because in the Crucible, that's where you're going to care about that melee lunge range, right? And we've all been on the receiving end of a Synthoceps Titan melee lunge. It's pretty wild. Shades of Modern Warfare 2 Commando perk, you know what I'm saying? But does it actually deserve to be nerfed? Well, I'll leave that up to you guys to discuss in the comments section. But definitely expect this thing to shift more towards PvE usage, because I think in PvE, you're more using the Synthoceps for the increased melee damage when surrounded, because that happens so often in a PvE environment. Now, interestingly, it does actually mirror a recent nerf that Bungie did regarding the Ophidian Aspect Exotic Gauntlets for the Warlock. Just like we're seeing here, they took out the increased melee lunge distance. So potentially it's just that they're removing that effect across the board. They're like, you know what? We don't want a random exotic making your lunge range crazy. We found that problematic, so we're going to phase that effect out of the game. We'll have to wait and see. But definitely a very popular exotic, so there's going to be some backlash for nerfing this one. Now, moving on from there, guys, lastly, for the Warlock, we do have the Karnstein Armlets. So, reading the new Vampire's Caress perk here, melee and finisher is the new part. Final blows instantly grant cure and provide restoration for a short duration. So also adding in the ability to get finishers to provide that healing, that's certainly going to result in a lot more healing. I've found that it's really easy to consistently get finishers. Definitely playing a lot of the Banner of War Titan, and you can trigger Banner of War with getting a finisher, and I do that a lot. So again, that's actually a little bit more powerful than it may seem on the surface. But regardless, guys, those are the exotics that we've kind of found that are being affected in the future. Maybe there's one or two we missed. So please let me know if there's a certain exotic intrinsic perk that looks a little bit different than what you remember it to be. In any event, guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.